at Critter Shop, and sorry that I haven't had a live stream in quite a while. I've been super busy with like vacation and like a ton of work trips, so I'm back, and y'all had requested tips on how to cut length of fabric. I was gonna say that I actually always put length of fabric on my borders. So if a pattern calls for width of fabric, I will buy the length and cut it, because I don't want to spend that time with the crease, and I like how the length of fabric does not stretch, so I feel like my it frames my quilt stronger. That's very controversial, and a lot of people don't like it, and I know a lot of y'all won't like it, but I'm just like telling y'all what I do. So I like length of fabric because, for two reasons. It saves time, I don't have any seams in my border, so I love that. So at the end, I'm going to answer a bunch of questions. I guess what I'm going to try to do is just get more of y'all online, wait till more of y'all are online, and then start cutting and just show you my tips, and then we can go over questions and whatever you want to talk about at the end. I
do have one question real quick, just because we titled the video How to Cut LOF. What is LOF?
So LOF is length of fabric. So when you're looking at a pattern, sometimes it'll say WOF, which is width of fabric, or length of fabric. So length would be parallel to the selvage. When you do width of fabric, you usually have to piece together your seams, and I just don't like that look in my quilt. I don't want to see a seam. It did take a while for me to get used to the length of fabric, because you have to be really accurate on the inside of your quilt, because your length does not stretch. So like your length is not going to stretch, so your width is. But I'm going to show you a tip on that also at the very end on how I get it to work with my quilt. So I'm going to start ironing. But basically Designer Mystery is our mystery program that we have once a year. It is our 10th anniversary, I think. And basically, you can get a finishing kit, you can get just the blocks, and you can get the backing. And this time, we're using a pattern designed by Joanna Figueroa, and it has a lot of borders, like an inner border, outside border. It's just got a lot of border strips. And so if you had to cut that width of fabric and sew the seams, that would be at least an hour. And I just don't like the look of it, especially because it's a solid. It just looks really clean with the length of fabric. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. And the fabric is supposed to be green, but I'm not going to waste like really good high quality fabric. So I always keep a bolt of 9998 in my room. I'm going to show you how you cut this up because it's a cheaper fabric. I'm not going to waste it. And then the leftovers I use it on my ironing board. I use my leftovers, and that way if it gets a stain, I never really have to clean the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you bought the kit, is you want to take your fabric, and you've got the fold at the top and the selvage at the bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just first line up the fold. Not perfectly yet. Just gonna keep all that, and then I'm gonna iron. So it's gonna take me quite a while to iron. Y'all are probably gonna be like, whoa, she's crazy. Now, normally I would starch this. We will talk about starch at the very end and how I would handle that, but I wanna hold that till the end because then everybody will get it. I think I'll confuse everybody. So now I'm gonna go iron.
We did have one question. Someone was asking if there is enough fabric in the kit to just cut it the normal way.
I'm sure there is. I haven't calculated it, but usually when you do length of fabric, it uses a little bit more. So I think it'll be fine.
Let's see. So Diana from Colombia is asking, if I don't buy the finishing kit, will I be able at the end to get the finishing pattern?
Yes. So when it ends, which will be June of 2019, then we will sell the pattern. We don't sell the pattern until the finishing kits are sold out. So if the finishing kits, which I think we have We have some left, but we don't have a ton left. But once those sell out, we will sell the finishing so that if you want to buy the fabric, you know, by the piece, you can.
All right. And Jean is asking, does cutting borders length of fabric take a lot more fabric with more leftover fabric?
It does. Yeah, it wastes fabric, yes. And this quilt, it really does not waste fabric because we use the other pieces on the other side of the length for the rest of the quilt, so it works out perfectly. But yes, it does waste fabric. But it's something that you can do. You can like use the leftovers maybe for a piece backing, or I never just throw it away. I just save it for another project.
All right. Oh, we've got lots of people tuning in, lots of hearts and smiley faces.
Yeah, so I mean, I know this is definitely like, this is not going to be for everybody. And like I always say, you should just do whatever works for you. So if you like width of fabric, do width of fabric. If you like length of fabric, do length of fabric. Because I adjust patterns all the time. When it says width of fabric, I do it length of fabric. So I just adjust it and learn how to, you know, learn how to do that math because I just prefer that.
All right. And someone was asking where you got your shirt.
Oh, it's a Fat Quarter Shop shirt. So if you search on our website, Fat Quarter Shop t-shirt, you will see it. It's a little bit older shirt, so we don't have all the sizes anymore, but we have most of the sizes. Okay. So that's pretty good. So now we're going to go to the cutting table. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line up as straight as I can the fold. I'm going to keep it as lined up as I possibly can because that matters. And I'm just going to just keep it taut. So I'm going to fold it down about that. But once I get to the table, I'm going to make sure these folds are 100% lined up because that keeps it straight when you cut. So I've got a lot of layers here. I'm going to press it one more time.
All right. Hey, Carolyn on YouTube says, what a great way to start the day.
Oh, thanks.
And she is from Cloquet.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I
Whatever that is.
could not fall asleep last night, so I'm half asleep still. Okay, so I've got this. I've got the fold here and the selvage here, and you can see it's not all wavy. You need it to be very parallel and straight. There's a lot of layers here, so a lot of layers, like a ton. So on this project, I would use the Endurance Blade, which is a new product by Alpha. It's it costs more, but it lasts a lot longer. Like, we put it in our Sew Sampler box, and people were loving it, and I was like, really? Let me go try it. I hadn't even tried it. It is amazing. It cuts like butter, and it does last quite a bit longer. I sew all the time, and it lasts probably a month, and my others don't last that long. Okay, so then at this point, you're going to want to follow your fabric. And you're going to see that in this pattern, there's a cutting diagram so that it really helps you. And the main thing you want to see is that we're cutting a lot of 2.5 by length of fabric strips. So what I'm going to show you today is really how you cut those length of fabrics. And then you can subcut those down. And I'm also going to show you a tip on how I do my borders. I don't trim them to the size exactly. So let's start by cutting the 2.5. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the end of my table. And actually, I'm going to use the widest ruler I have, which is a 8.5. I have a lot of rulers. So I'm going to use the 8.5 because it's wider and so it's sturdier. So I'm going to line the very bottom up right here with the fold. And you can tell that if you put a ruler on the fold here and the fold here, it's an exact, is that 45 degree, Lily?
That's 90 degrees.
90 degrees. So it would be like a 90-degree angle. Because if you don't, then you're going to get waves. So the first thing I'm going to do is, and I'm going to cut in about an inch, because if you cut right where the fold is, it's going to kind of buckle up. So I'm gonna just cut.
Mr. Domestic says, you're over here too. Yeehaw.
I'm what?
He says you're over here too.
Oh, I'm over here. Yeah, I am over here. So.
Oh, and someone on Instagram is asking, what is being made?
Okay, so we're working on just how you cut length of fabric, just tips on how to cut length of fabric strips, and it's helpful for the 2018 mystery quilt that we're doing.
And can you remind us what size ruler you're using?
Okay, so I'm using 8.5 by 24.5. I use it anytime I cut borders because it's heftier. So I've got that cut. Throw this away. Now I'm going to turn to the other side, and we need a lot of 2.5-inch strips. So to me, it's easier to cut like 7.5, then 5. It's easier. It's going to cut better. So I'm going to put my ruler on the 7.5. Then I'm going to go to the 5. And this is where you want to be super careful.
Oh, that's funny. Someone, when you were ironing, asked, isn't your iron going to burn when you leave it down like that?
Okay, so that is an Aliso machine. And I'll show you at the end why it does not burn.
Oh, and somebody else is asking, do you only use the ruler and not the mat markings?
Yeah, I never use the mat markings, except this next step, which I'll show you in a little bit.
And are you going to have any tips for left-handers?
I think you just do it the opposite way. I have, it's pretty much the same thing. You just go from the other side, I think.
So doing it from the other end of the table, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, from the other end. So this is a lot of layers. So you're going to keep doing that. I'm going to set this aside because I'm not going to use all of it, and I'll use it later. I'll save it. So these are just 2.5-inch strips. You can tell that you really have to press. If you just have to go slow. So, for example, it says fabric A needs to be 2.5 by 88.5, and that is going to go on your outer border. Now we all know that when you get this together, it is not going to be exactly 88.5. So I don't trim it to 88.5. This is what I do. First I'm just going to pull one strip out, and I'm just going to show you, this is how I do all borders, every quilt. You know, it's not usually as thick, but I'm going to need 2 strips, 88.5. I'm just going to show you on one because I've got a little streamer situation going on. Here. Okay. Now on this, I'm going to use the lines on the ruler, on the mat, because I'm not trimming it. So 88.5 divided by 2 is 44.25. So I get it perfectly lined up. And if it, if it needs to be 44, if you just find the middle spot, I'm going to mark it with a pin. I usually put it in kind of like this, where it's got, I put it in a couple of times, that way it won't come out. So I put it, put it in, take it out, because I'm going to leave this here for a while. So I'm going to put a pin there, and I'm going to put a pin at the zeros.
Making Something Happy on Instagram says, I love your videos. They have taught me so much, and she made her first quilt watching them.
Awesome.
And she also says, so glad we're on Instagram, and that she misses your Cajun trim polish.
Oh, I know. I'm going today. I'm a hot mess. I'm about to go out of town, and I've been sewing like crazy this week because I was on vacation for 2 weeks. Well, actually not vacation. It was like part vacation, part work. So my nails are a mess. Okay, so this technically is your length of fabric border. And what I've done is I didn't cut it 88.5. I left a couple of inches on both sides, and I just marked the center and where it should be. What I would do from there is that's my fabric A. So from there, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take an alpha bitty. These are like little marking tools. And I'm going to wonder clip it down. And then I'm going to set this aside on a design board until I put my border on. And then when you go to put your border on, you find the center of the quilt. So you just take your quilt, find the center, and put a pin. Then you're going to match that center pin, and then you're going to put the pins on both sides, and then you're going to pin it. And if it is like a little bit off, you just move it. Because in the end, it doesn't really matter. It's 88.5 inches. So that's kind of what I do, because if you trim it to exactly 88.5, what if it's short? Or, you know what I mean? It's just, and then when you sew it down and you press the seam flat and then you press it open, you can make a really nice cut on that end. I will say most of the time mine are within about ½ an inch. So if it's within ½ an inch, I'm not gonna worry about it. If I'm folding my quilt and it's like ½ an inch off when you fold it, that just does not matter to me. So those are kind of some of my tips on doing length of fabric. If you wanted to not cut that thick of a thing, you could just have it further out, cut, pull it down, cut. I do starch my fabric before I do this. So if you were going to do that, it's really hard to starch 5 1/3. It's just too big to dry. It's just too big. So what I would do is I would probably just figure out, okay, I'm going to have to cut 7 1/2 a couple of times. I might cut some 8 1/2 inch strips of the length of fabric, starch, let those dry, come, and then iron, fold, do the same thing. It is tedious, it is long, it is extra. Sometimes I'm just extra. So yeah, it is, all these things that I do are just kind of how I do it. I know I do get some complaints because I waste fabric. Sometimes I take to, I just do it different, but it's kind of just how I do it. I do think this quilt has, just because it's like a twin size, if you do those with the fabrics, to me, if you're going to put it in a quilt show or get it judged, you just don't want those seams in there. So that's kind of why I did it. It's just going to look prettier. It's going to stand up longer, because those seams, as a quilt gets used, those seams there's no seam there. So it's just going to last longer. So it's not that I'm trying to waste fabric. It's just, I kind of think things through, and sometimes I think it's better to do things and take your time and just do it. Like I said, you do it however you want to do it. If you want to do with the fabric, do it. So the Aliso iron is this. When you pick it up, I don't even know how to show this. See, it pops up. It's got these little things, and it pops up and down. And it's the only iron that I use because it's pretty heavy. I just don't want to have to go up and down every day. So.
We did have someone on Instagram saying that you made it look so easy because your ruler doesn't slip and slide. Do you have tips on that?
So I use Creative Grids rulers. They have this little, and you can tell I've used it a lot because there's like markings everywhere. It's got these little circles and it just keeps it in place. And when I cut, I put a lot of pressure. You're not supposed to. I know. In an ideal world, you should just be able to cut. And that's great when you're doing like 1 or 2 layers. I don't put a lot of pressure, but when you're doing a border, you just really push down. And you can tell it's pretty, I mean, even though I cut through a lot of layers, it's got a little bit of jagged edge. But if you do it, first of all, you're not going to see that. But second of all, if you starch, you're not going to have that. When you starch your fabric, the way that I starch, and you'd have to go back, I've got 2 videos on YouTube on it. If you just look starching, you're not going to have that. It does not do that because it's firmer or stronger. I did want to mention I have a Facebook group. It's called Kimberly Stitch Squad. And this week, I'm going to give away a prize to Peach Luttrell because she's awesome and she answers all my questions before I even log in and saves me so much time. So Peach, what I want you to do is direct message me today and we'll talk about what you won and then I'll get that mailed to you. I want all of you guys to join that group because a lot of people will watch this video later and have questions, and if you post it there and tag me, I will come back and be able to answer your questions and help you. We also are on Instagram, Fat Quarter Shop, and we are almost to 100,000 subscribers. So we just need like 2,000 subscribers, and we're going to have this big giveaway when we get there. So I want y'all to subscribe to that. And we have giveaways every Friday on Instagram. So if you want to check that out, we have that. It's called like Free Fabric Friday. So I think that's like most of my updates. My next live stream is going to be so cute. I'm actually going to sew it later today. I'm hoping. I have a lot of errands to run, but I'm hoping to get it done today. I'm basically going to do something really fun with some Lori Holt fabric. And I'm going to be using one of her older books that most of you probably already have. And basically just showing you how you can just take something. Like that book is just in my stash of books. And I got the fabric and I thought, oh, this charm pack is so cute. What can I do with it? So kind of showing you how, because a lot of times people just feel like you need to buy new. And that's great, but a lot of times you can use what you have in your stash. I mean, obviously the fabric is new, but I love the fabric. I am actually making 2 projects from it, and I'm going to show you both of those and how you can, both of them, one of them I'm going to show you how you can take like a regular quilt kit and how you can change it and make it extra. That's what I call myself, extra. How you can like just change it and make it your own. You don't have to just buy a kit and leave it exactly like it is. But then I'm going to show you this really cute thing that I know all of you going to want to make. But we're not going to have a live stream next week because I am driving tomorrow morning to Galveston for Shriek's Dance Convention. My daughter is going to be competing for Dancer of the Year, and so I will be driving home next Friday. But then that should hopefully be my last trip for a long time, and then we can be back to live streams because I love them every Friday. So yeah, and then also always remember, if you have live stream ideas, put them on my group, put them on the YouTube comments, subscribe to our YouTube. Lily looks at all of our YouTube comments and she lets me know like, oh, a lot of people want to know this. She's actually why we did the length of fabric, because a lot of you were asking that, and then a lot of you were asking in my group, because I do monitor the group myself. So anything, because I didn't know that a lot of you were having trouble with it. So anytime you have anything that you need help with, all you have to do is put a note. And there's times where y'all have said, "Oh, can you show this?" And I'm like, I really can't, because I don't know how to do it. But we can direct you to maybe another expert, or maybe somebody who's already filmed for us on our Fat Quarter Shop channel. We can say, "Oh, well, we've already filmed that with the person who actually knows what they're doing."
All right, we do have just a couple of quick questions. On Instagram, someone's asking if you have to wash the quilt because you use starch.
Okay, so this is controversial again. I don't wash my quilts, ever. The only quilts in my house that have ever been washed are the ones that I made for my kids that they vomited on. And I actually hand wash them and dry them outside on a fence. I never put I don't like the wrinkly, crinkly look. So I don't. I mean, should you? Yeah, probably. Probably should. I don't find it to be a concern. I feel like, no, I don't wash them. Like last night, literally, in my bed, I had all my kids slept in the bed with me. Don't judge. They all just came in, all 4 of them, and the dog, and they slept in the bed. I don't know where my husband slept, because they kicked him out. It was not me. They kicked him out. And literally, I have in my closet it's a stack of this high of quilts. And obviously, we can't all fit under the covers, because one of my little boys always sleeps at the foot of the bed when they decide to come sleep with me. So he went and got a quilt, and it was starched. It was the Sew in Love Adita quilt. It's full of starch. He slept on it. It was just fine.
All right, and then the last thing that's much less controversial, someone thought your thread rack was a poster, and so there's some debate in the comments about whether it's real or not.
This is real. So the story on this is I own a fabric store, obviously. And so most people are obsessed, like a lot of people when you're on groups or whatever, they talk about your fabric stash. They love it. They have all this fabric. I actually I can show y'all one day. Eventually I'll do a tour of where I store my stuff. I hardly have any fabric, because what I do is I'll buy my fabric. I will sew exactly what I want, and then I will give my leftovers to either an employee, a friend, or there's a charity that a neighborhood in my group makes quilts for. So I will do that, because I don't want to have a bunch of fabric, but I love thread and I love buttons. So I have got all this thread and I have a ton of buttons, and I have literally hardly any fabric. If I needed to find a background, I wouldn't have it. I just don't have it. So this is every type of thread that Oracle has. It's the Orifloss 28 weight, 40 weight, 50 weight, 28 weight, whatever. It's all here, except for the applique is not on here. And really what this is $50 to $100 worth of materials at Home Depot. So I have this awesome uncle. Hi, John and B, if y'all are watching. My aunt and uncle sometimes watch me. So basically the back, I guess, is a bead board. It was just this huge board. And then he just bought plywood and he handmade this. And then my Aunt B painted it. And it's got a little lip. So, and then the funny story is I've had this for 3 years. And in my old house, this was pretty much the size of my wall. And so he made it as big as he could for that wall, and he told me when he put it up, "You're not ever moving." And then I moved, and then I had to go tell him. He's like my uncle, so it's I go back to my little girl. I'm like, "John, we're moving. Can we move it?" Because I did not want the movers to move this. This is probably my favorite thing in my whole house, compared to my furniture. I will say my kids' rooms are decorated pretty awesome, so I like that. But my bedroom is not even decorated at all. But I love this one, so it's real. Are there other questions? I seem to be a little hyper today.
No, you're good. We have a lot of questions,
Yeah,
so it's up to you. If we, okay.
I want to do them.
Someone was asking, you mentioned that you donate your fabric to a charity. What is the name of that charity?
So basically it is a refuge for women that are escaping domestic violence, and it is in Africa, and it's associated with one of their churches. and one of my friends has been over there, and so it's basically they make quilts for them, and then they sell them, and we also give them fabric. So it's not like a registered charity. I don't know the name.
Somebody else is asking, what weight thread do you use for applique?
So for applique, I'll show you what I use. It's right here. So I have a little drawer, and it has all my stuff. So I have freezer paper, applique freezer paper, and a foundation paper. And then I have a little box, and it has all of the stuff that I use for applique. So this, I think it's called 80 weight. It's Aurifil. I have all the colors in here, and so I'm going to make a little wall for it one day. My uncle is. I'm going to send him this video so he can make me one. So, yeah, so I've got my 80 weight, and then I use either Milner's 12 or black gold needles, and then I use these little clover applique pins that are like tiny. And when I'm appliquing, I just use my little yellow scissors. These are the ones I use, and so I just have everything in here, and that's what I use. I use 80 weight. I used to use 50 weight before Aurifil came out with the 80 weight. Sorry, but I like thin and strong. Some people use polyester. I will not use polyester thread. I would use it if I was making something with like minky, but I will not use it on a quilt in any way. So yeah, whatever you like. I do try to match the color to my fabric. So if I had a choice between the correct thread weight or the correct color, I would go with color over weight. So like Aurifil does not make every single color for the applique thread. So if there wasn't a color that matched, I would pick a 50 weight, so 40 or 50.
Oh, and we've got questions about the items on your table. So the cutting mat and the ruler holders. Where do they get them?
Okay, so the cutting mat, Lori Holt has 3 sizes of mats. They have 2 different colors on each side. This one is mint and maybe there's a pink one, but she has 3 of those. So we sell them at Fat Quarter Shop. And this is called a ruler roundup. It is by Doohickey Designs. We sell them at Fat Quarter Shop. This is a Fat Quarter Shop ruler pal. It has Fat Quarter Shop on one side. So if you want to get these, you can get these at Fat Quarter Shop. And then these are Lori Holt's 3 different types of rulers. So I do have a lot of rulers.
Oh.
And I also just like to look at Lori's, so this matches my room.
Diane on Facebook was asking, can you share how to do the calculation from a pattern when you then cut length of fabric as you were showing?
So, okay, so say I have a pattern that says, so like you open your pattern and it says, piece 2 strips with the fabric together, and it should measure 54.5 inches, say. What I would do is I would take 54 plus 8, which is 62 inches, and I would cut a 62 inch, because I like to have extra. So I would add whatever the longest length of fabric piece is, and I would add, if it's a small quilt, you really only need like 5 inches. But if it's a larger quilt, I'll do 8. And then I would cut that. That would be the piece that I would buy. And then that's how I would figure it out. Is just buy a piece that's bigger than your border. And then, if you buy a kit or something and you have extra, then maybe you do a piece backing. I like to do piece backings. I might do a video on that sometime. And that's a way that I use up, because I do waste fabric on the front, but that's a way that I can use up like some of the pieces on the back that I don't, that are just left over. You can just piece those together. And I do that based on time. So if I have a ton of projects that I need to get done, I'm not going to do that. But if I really don't have anything else to work on, I'm going to piece my backing.
All right. And then a comment from Lisa on YouTube. She's asking, could you not just cut 2.5 inch strips and keep going? Would that not make you need to be super careful to keep your edges together on your large piece of fabric?
So I always even when I'm cutting just patchwork, if I've got to subcut more, I cut the longest piece first and then go back. I've talked about it before. I just feel like when you move your ruler backwards, the fabric moves less. And I learned it from Billy Lauder on Simply Quilts, which was an Alex Anderson TV show, 15 years ago. And I learned so much from that TV show. And so she taught that one day, and I just, ever since then, did that.
Cool. And then we've just got a couple more questions regarding our video making process. Someone was asking if there's a chance for us to make more tutorials for the designer mystery for the rest of the blocks.
I don't think we are on that one. We haven't really done that one all year and the reason why is because we sell out of that program. We only have, I don't want to say how many, but we don't have that many more spots. And so if we did those videos, when we get to month 12, we're sold out. And then we get so many complaints online about why don't we have this kit? Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? So just because it's something that sells out pretty early, we don't. And I think that one's pretty easy. So if you have any questions on it, just post in our group, and then Peach will probably answer first because she always answers before me. But somebody in our group will help you. So if you have anything, definitely just comment in the Kimberly Stitch Squad on Facebook. Or, you can go to YouTube and comment. You can go to our Instagram, our Back Quarter Shop, any of that, and ask us questions.
All right. And then the second question we had in regards to video is if we could subtitle our videos in different languages. I don't know if you'd just rather I answer that.
Yeah, Lily can answer.
So in regards to subtitles, guys, it's just subtitles in English YouTube can do automatically sometimes. But apart from that, we have to go in and personally write down everything that is said so that it can then be translated. And just at the moment, we don't have time to do that. So.
Yeah, and I know it because I listen to a ton of podcasts. That's actually something that people ask for podcasters to do. And right now, there's not a really strong technology that can just do that for you. And so that's kind of an issue, not just with YouTube, but with podcasting, with all kinds of platforms, I guess.
All right. But yeah, we'll work on it. We still got a lot of questions coming in, so okay. Someone is asking, how many yards did you have to cut today?
So that was 5 1/3 yards, and it's on the back. So yeah, that was 5 1/3 yards that I cut through.
Let's see. And whichever way you cut, is there enough fabric?
Yeah, I think that if you do with the fabric and piece it together, I do think you would have enough.
All right. And can polyester thread be used for machine piecing the quilt top?
So I am strongly against that. Because you're kind of mixing two different materials, and from what I've heard is polyester can break later because the tension. But I will say long-arm quilters use the polyester on the top. So I would not use polyester piecing at all. I wouldn't. It's also thicker, and I think it's harder to work with. So I never have used polyester with piecing, and I never would.
All right. And any simple tips on doing quilts when you're a newbie?
So when you're new, I would say get the correct rulers. Get really nice creative grids or a ruler that has nice lines. And you don't have to have everything, but just get a good ruler, a good rotary cutter, and I like this one, but a lot of people hate this one. So you got to find one that works for you, and then just iron, measure slowly. I think if you're accurate in cutting, your piecing is going to be accurate. But if you're really sloppy with your cutting, it messes up the whole process. So my tip would be just go really slow cutting, ironing, take your time, don't rush.
And along those lines, do you have a brand of ruler you prefer?
Creative grids. Yeah, for sure. So if you look in my drawer, this is all creative grids, and then I have more on the floor over there. So, and when you're new, you don't need that many at all. I have been using Creative Grids for 20 years. So I've probably had this ruler 10 years. I just collect them over time, it just accumulates. But when you're new, do not feel like you need to have a lot of stuff. Do what works for you, because when I first started quilting, I went to a store and there was just all these rules about do this, do this, do this. You can't do this, you can't do that. Just like I said, like polyester thread, if you like it, do it. Do what you want. If your friend says you need to have this rotary cutter, but you don't like it, you like a different one, do what works for you. No quilter is the same. You should do whatever you want to do. Because if you put too many rules on yourself, you're not going to enjoy the process.
All right, and we have a bit of a suggestion for a live stream. Cindy on Facebook says, any thoughts of making a quilt as a live sew-along?
Oh, Lord. Yeah, let me think about that.
Or maybe a block. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like a block we could do. I don't know how it would work because a lot of people watch these after, so most of our views are after. But yeah, we can process that and think about how we could do that.
All right, and I think this is a good point.
Okay, so just remember next week I'm going to be out of town, so there won't be a live stream. If you have questions for me, go to Kimberly Stitch Squad, post them, subscribe.